Going to check and see if I'm live. No. Okay. So, hello. I am live again. The last time it kind of just froze on me, so I ended up deleting the live stream. So now we're going to try this a second time. So, today I am going to go over the Apple Live event and everything that happened at their event that happened today. So I have notes here. Did everything. And the first thing that happened that is probably known to everybody is the M1 chip was announced for the new Macs. So MacBook Air, MacBook Pro 13-inch, and Mac Mini all have the silicone, the Apple Silicon, or M1 chip. So another thing that they're saying that the MacBooks have is better battery life, between 17 and 20 hours of battery life, due to the M1 chip not being as power hungry when in just web browsing or video watching or like movie watching type thing. But I'm assuming it's extremely power hungry when it comes to probably video editing and stuff. They said at the event that video editing is now doable on the MacBook Air and can be kind of like almost like pretty much almost like the iMac Pro, between the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro in performance wise, and that's just on the Air. That's not even the 13-inch or the Mini. Um, but I don't believe that, and I won't believe that until I see it, to be honest. Another thing that they're saying is that the MacBook Pro now has a new mic as well as a better camera feed and camera resolution because of the M1 chip is driving it in some sort of way. So it's like kind of pretty much like an upscale in a way, so they don't have to spend more money to upgrade the webcam, which is, I don't want to say bullcrap, but I also don't want to say that it's revolutionary or anything like that either. So another thing is that all these new Macs have Wi-Fi 6 built into them, as well as Thunderbolt 4. USB 4, Thunderbolt. Now, if I talk and go back to the chip, more information about the M1 chip is that it is on a 5 nanometer chip, process chip. And it has 16 billion transistors. And it has a new style of GPU that is 3 times more powerful than Intel, according to their testing. Again, I'm not going to believe that until I see it. But they also say that the GPU is built in to the M1 chip. So now there's not a whole separate CPU and then GPU separate chip. It's all in one chip now. Another thing that I could talk about is the software elephant in the room, which is the macOS 11 Big Sur. So this OS has been perfectly redesigned. As you can see, kind of it's like pretty much from iOS, from like iOS 6 to 7 and iOS 9 to 12 type thing. It's kind of like in between those two big jumps, and kind of just the way everything will look. Available on the 12th of November. So available the day after Remembrance Day, which is the 12th. There is also the refresh dock kind of notification, just like all the new kind of built-in stuff. Safari has been redesigned. With the ways how Safari's been redesigned, I personally could honestly maybe see myself using Safari over Google Chrome for basic tasks. But when it comes to like having more than like 3 tabs open at once, Safari just kind of looks crowded, and I don't really like that. So I could see if I'm doing single, maybe 2 tabs on Safari, I could see using Safari. But I think the rest of the time it would be macOS. I think it would not macOS. It would be Google Chrome. Safari backgrounds are customizable. There's more languages. Is that or so now there is translation. So you can say hello in the Siri or something, and then it will change around and say it to bonjour or something along those lines. Privacy report, just pretty much all their normal privacy stuff. It's might be big to some people, but to me it's not really. It's nice to have security, but too much security is just, it's a pain to have to deal with. Kind of if I scroll back up here a bit, they pretty much just took a book out of Google Maps pages, or a page of Google Maps books, and adds what they call 360 view when it's not. So these are all the Macs that it supports. So iMac of 2014 and later, MacBook Air of 2013 and later, MacBook Pro of late 2013 and later, iMac Pro of 2017 and later, so all models, of course. Mac Pro 2013 and later, MacBook of 2015 and later, and Mac Mini of 2014 and later. Now, I'm assuming that there's probably some sort of thing that somebody's going to make up where you can turn around and install macOS Big Sur on like 2009, 2010 iMac and MacBook Pro. There's already a bunch of those for macOS Catalina and stuff like that already. I'm pretty sure that you can actually already install, I think, the first beta 1 or beta 2 of Big Sur on old Macs already from, I think, 2010 and up, if I'm not mistaken. But that I don't know fully. Now I can go on to the thing of, oh yeah, new secure boot. So Apple has also released, this is mainly based on Big Sur, but it's also part of the M1 chip, where unless you replace the whole processor, so you have to replace the processor plus a couple of other little component type things in order to like break activation lock and all that stuff. Now recently, even with the T2 chip, you just replace the SSD with another MacBook SSD and it's pretty much just gone. So now activation lock is actually there, and unless you do board level hacking, you cannot get rid of activation lock, which I know with most people that will be awesome, but for people like me that forget their passwords sometimes quite a bit, it is kind of a pain to deal with that. But you just have to get used to it and hopefully remember your passwords. I'd recommend, or they're not a sponsor or anything, but LastPass I would highly recommend. I use it day to day. So another thing I can talk about is, well, that's pretty much kind of basic. So the new processor is ARM-based processor. So kind of like the Snapdragon kind of like the Snapdragon 845 on the S7 or S8. Pretty much just kind of like processors on phones, and now the new Mac processors as well as the iPhone processors are all ARM in the ARM-based category. Sure, they don't require fans. Now I don't know. I don't remember them talking about having fans in the MacBook Air or Mac Mini, but I do know that the MacBook Pro apparently does still have a fan in it. Now, the pictures and stuff and the rendering and all that stuff that they did for the cooling system on for the MacBook Pro when they showed it off is just complete garbage. It's pretty much the exact same of what is on the it's pretty much what is on the MacBook right now based on cooling, and it's horrid. I've never seen cooling that bad. My MacBook Air overheats a lot. Um, Even just doing basic tasks, like having two tabs open in Google Chrome, and it's just like overheating to the extreme, and can get very frustrating. So we're getting close to the end here. So, oh yeah, the emulation thing of kind of like they call it some sort of emulation or something. I don't even know what they call it. I think it's universal code, I think is what they call it, but it's pretty much where all apps on Intel will work on on the ARM Mac as well as macOS Big Sur. Now, was my personal experience. I know that it was just a beta. I, I know that it was only a beta, but when I was back on, like, I think it was beta 6, 7, and 8, I had nothing but trouble where Google Chrome would launch half the time. I would always have issues of stuff crashing. So, in my opinion, I would probably turn around and I would hold off on updating the Big Sur until like 10.0.1 or 10 or 11.1 or 11.0.1, something like that. But it's fully up to you if you want to take the risk or not. But another thing I could talk about, which is getting pretty close to the end here, is the M1 or is the prices of these new computers. Now, I have the US pricing here, but I can also pull it up for the Canadian pricing. So, with the new MacBook Air, it is $1,299. That's before tax and before any upgrading. And then the US price is $999. The MacBook Pro is $1,299 US or $1,199 US for students in high school and or college that have like proof of that. In Canada, it is $16.99 for normally, or $15.99 if you are a student in high school or college. Now, with the Mac Mini, I've seen quite a bit of a price drop actually. I don't know if it's the same with the States or if it's just in. I don't know if it's the same in Canada or just in the States, but US, it's gone down from $7.99 to $6.99, and it looks like $8.99 here. So it must have used to be $1,000 on Canadian, unless they never even down the price. One thing that I can point out that is been on everybody's mind, that everybody that does emulation and all that stuff would be happy. We have iPhone and iPad apps on Mac. With macOS Big Sur finally comes the ability to install iPhone and iPad apps on Mac. And I know they showed off like the iPhone version of Photoshop and Adobe Premiere as well as Among Us. I don't remember there was anything else that they showed off. I don't have it in my notes here, anyways, then. And as well as there's some sort of emulation on the M1 chip. So apps that don't natively have support, like uTorrent. Like if uTorrent gets an update to Big Sur, but does not get a update for the M1 chip, it will still work with some sort of Intel emulation that the M1 chip can do on certain apps on with when the people, like when the manufacturers or the developers of the app don't want to take advantage of the M1 chip. There is emulation for that. And I don't know if this is the Canadian date or the US dates, but the Macs have been released today and will be shipped by Friday, with the Mac Mini on Thursday. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to talk about, which is kind of the sadder part for people like me that like doing these kind of projects and stuff, is that Hackintosh is probably gone. Like, it's Apple has taken their silicone and their processors to the point where you can't really do stuff like Hackintosh anymore. I know you can. I know that they were saying that they might be able to do a beta of Big Sur on it. Like, I think they said beta 2 might work, but we'd have to wait and see. But I think if they are able to get Big Sur with Hackintosh, I'm pretty sure that it would most likely be the last Hackintosh to ever do it. The last operating system that Hackintosh would be able to run, which is, for people like me that like doing those projects, is kind of upsetting. Now, there's so many issues with Hackintosh, it's not even funny, but like, it's all the trouble I had to go through to get the Hackintosh working. It's working now, which is nice. But it's, yeah, kind of a pain. That is. Oh, yeah, it's pretty much just the last thing I have here is just what they call it, what they call the computers. So they're calling the computers like MacBook Air with M1, because it sounds like they're still going to be selling Intel chips on the MacBook Air, but from probably 2019 and lower, not the 2020. And then it's the same with the Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro. Is now the M1 model of it is now the MacBook Air or MacBook Pro with M1, or Mac Mini with M1 chips. So that is about it. Just in case if I didn't mention it, that all apps on Intel will work on the M1 chip with emulation. In case I didn't mention that, which I'm pretty sure I did. So that is pretty much it. Yeah, I already talked about Activation Lock is finally on the Mac, where you had to do board level repair or board level hacking in order for it to actually work now. So now what people are probably wondering that are watching this live stream, or will, is that what is my personal opinion on the M1 chip? Now, with my opinion on the M1 chip is, it's good. I can't say it's great. I can't say it's horrible. I'm just going to take Apple's word for it, as well as people like Linus Tech Tips, Austin Evans, iJustine, all those people. I'm going to take their words for it until I can finally eventually get my hands on a Mac with Apple Silicon M1 chip inside of it. So that is pretty much going to do it for me in this live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.